everyone. My name is Chris-Ann Hessing, and I'm the digital media curator for This is Worldtown. I'm joined here today with Sima Ali, Aliyah Robinson Ada, and Eli Fernango, who are local emerging media makers who are part of our Behind the Desk program. Before we get to featuring their brilliant work, I'd like to talk a little bit about This is Worldtown and what we do. This is Worldtown is an online media platform that features conversation about identity, society, politics, and the arts through first-person essays, online galleries, podcasts, and curated visual storytelling and media. Our contributors are Black, Indigenous, women of color who tell stories beyond borders through their own mediums of expression. In the existing media landscape, minorities are denied the ability to share their stories. When they are represented, they're often stereotyped. Our online content reaches thousands across Canada and internationally, and we provide a space in the Canadian media landscape to create and feature content directed by racialized women, this content that would otherwise be rejected by mainstream publications. We created the Behind the Desk program to support the creative development of the next generation of women of color media makers. The 7 selected artists as a collective are Muslim, Indigenous, Black women of color, conveying in-depth visual stories about migration, space, healing, and love. And we have some of them here, but not everyone. The resulting showcase, called Unbound, Stories from Behind the Desk, premiered at the Toronto Media Arts Centre about a month ago, and we're gonna be going to Mississauga later this month. And it's my pleasure to now have 3 of the artists here to speak to you about their work.
All right, thank you. So my name is Sima Ali, and I am one of the collaborators from Young Migrants. It was a collaboration between not only Sisterhood Media, my company, as well as Aliyah Robinson Photography, Aliyah's company. And this is, of course, brought to you by This is Worldtown. So essentially what Young Migrants is, it is a mixed media photography and audio documentary series that not only puts people in their landscapes that they have emotions with and real connections with in Toronto and the GTA, but also their relationship with Canadian immigration. So everybody we introduced and talked to is not only first and second generation, but they also have some kind of relation through themselves or through their family members. So in January, we put out a call for people who identify as first and second generation people in Toronto to speak about their experience. We brought them to neighborhoods, buildings, and murals that meant something to them and their family members. Aliyah captured them through environmental portraits, and I interviewed them to create our mixed media project, documentary photography and an audio documentary that you can see, feel, and listen to. It is also available on This is Worldtown site. We were welcomed into the intimate details of people's lives, and it was such an honor to capture them. Bringing them to the parks and gardens, talking about their immigration journeys or the paths that brought their parents here. What was striking is that everyone had an understanding of the access that was brought when they were actually living in Canada, but there's still a longing for home. We talked to them about what they feel as if they were to be born in the countries that their families came from or the countries that they were from, and if they were to stay there. And there was definitely a dissonance, but I mean, as a member of the diaspora, you never feel like you're at home. You're kind of stuck in the airport that your parents came with when they actually came to this country, but you deal with it and you seek help with everybody else and you live on. So Leah's actually going to talk about the actual photos.
Thank you. Hi guys, my name is Aliyah Robinson. So in our first image, which actually will come up in a minute, here we go. This is Aza. She speaks about her childhood growing up in Egypt, Saudi Arabia, all over the world, and she's been traveling since she was a child. And before she settled in Canada and became a Canadian citizen, she pretty much found that the airport was the most common space in her life. This is where she found comfort, where most people found anxiety. And in our second image, this is Jennifer. She holds a metal spoon that her father made for her mother and also stands in front of her parents' first home in Kensington Market. This home was basically a refugee space that they shared amongst other refugee immigrants. And lastly, we have Farah. She is a second-generation Canadian of Indian and Kenyan descent. Farah practices Kathak it's an Indian dance form that has always been close to her heart and heritage. She also is the first grandchild in her family to graduate from university. And here you go.
Hi everyone, my name is Eli Farinango and I am Quichua Tabalo from the northern part of Ecuador. My project is titled Healing Through Remember and is a series of self-portraits and portraits that I did with my family, trying to explore the connection to land and different healing practices. Sorry, I'm a little nervous. So these images are done in multiple exposure as a way of representing the layered relationships between the subject and the space. These images were taken as a way of presenting the connection to fire, space, and to my family. When I went back to Ecuador last year, it pushed me to really acknowledge parts of myself that I had ignored. As a way to cleanse myself and start a new cycle, I started photographing this. This image is of my grandmother and a healer doing a healing ceremony. And yes, while in Ecuador, I realized the importance of rooting myself to space and to my family. And yeah, and just, this is another self-portrait, and really understanding what it means to live here and trying to figure out a space for myself here while being over there, but not really finding a space like Young Migrants talks a little bit about. And then the last image is an image of my family in Ecuador who continue to support me and guide me and teach me lots of things about life and what it means to be Quichua.
Thank you.
You can follow us at This Is Worldtown on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, and check out our website anytime.